Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Sun is rising, feel the warmth on my face. There's a lot to do now, but there ain't no race. I sip my coffee, I'm feeling fine. No need to work yet, I'm gonna take my time. It's a brand new day, gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. My name is Kimberly McLemore, and I am your host. With us, we have Latiqua Williams, CEO at Latiqua Williams, the Stimulator, and CEO at Exxclusive Scalp Institute. Welcome, Latiqua.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this interview for a while now, so I'm really excited that we have the opportunity to speak with each other this evening. And so, just to get this started, you want to tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself?
I'm Latiqua Williams, aka the Stimulator, the CEO of Scalp Institute and LatiquaWilliams.com, which is a stimulator. And I'm also a radical homeschool mom. So what does all that mean? I help women with providing them tools how to create a lifestyle, which consists of a threefold: to educate, motivate, and stimulate their mind, body, and soul. And I like to put it as plain and simple as this, as I try to teach women how to connect with me and let them stimulate their mind where they're able to change their lifestyle, and provide them with tools that consist of beauty, business, hair loss, nutrition, real life experience, homeschooling, hair restoration, hair stimulation, health, wellness, and creating a radical lifestyle for them.
Okay. All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to backtrack just a little bit because you gave me a lot of information in like 2 minutes. Okay, we're going to slow this down just a little bit here.
Okay.
So what I want to talk a little bit about first is tell me a little bit about personally who you are. Tell me, where you're from. I believe you're from New York, correct?
I live in New York. I'm from Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
And I am pretty much, I would say I'm a woman that lives out of her suitcase as a entrepreneur. Part of the year I live in Atlanta, Georgia. The remainder of the year I live in New York City.
Okay.
I pretty much travel internationally empowering women.
Wow, that's awesome. See, you're exactly what I want to be when I grow up. So I'm really
Well,
excited
thank you.
talking to you. It's like, oh, this is my dream job. This was what you're just saying. You'll be able to travel and empower the women to do something for themselves and dare to dream, as my motto is, dare to be fearless. So anyway, enough about me, but I also want to learn a little bit more. Tell me about your personal story of how you decided to get into a business like this, and then also tell me if this is what inspired you to start a business like this.
Well, in 2012, I began to suffer from hair loss, and I've been in the beauty industry for 20 plus years. So I want to say from 2007 to 2012, I pretty much hid my hair loss issue. And I was traveling. I was doing all the things of anyone would want to do with traveling with a big company, which is called Bosley. And I was tired of suffering in silence. So one day after traveling overseas, I just came to the conclusion, like, today is it, this is it. I'm going to start a company, and it's going to teach women how to rock in their hair loss, be empowering, and just live a radical life. So in 2012, I just took the leap of faith and started my company, which is Exxclusive Scalp Institute. That talks all about hair loss, being a mom, and just living a radical life.
Wow. That's brave, very brave. And I know as us women, we really truly, our hair is everything to us, to some degree. When we look in the mirror, we want to see our hair. And when something goes wrong with it, even I'm going through the process right now. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm 51 and I'm all of a sudden getting gray spots and it's driving me crazy. So I can't even imagine at this point what it would feel like to lose your hair. And I know there are many women who can definitely, understand your story and are there currently going through that process right now. So to have somebody who can stimulate them to realize that, life is not truly about your hair. It's about who you are as an individual.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think just like I said, as an everyday thing, as women, we constantly go through that process. And that's something I'm struggling with now. So, so I think it's great that what you're doing is very important. So I just want to ask you another question and backtrack just a little bit. You said that you worked previously with Bosley. And so
yes.
That's how you understand the hair industry, and to have that type of knowledge to go into the business that you've been doing since 2012, I think is amazing, because I've heard of Bosley, but you never really hear a lot about women being a part of that institution.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So,
and one thing of what I've learned from Bosley was that I had the personal experience to work with the founder and the creator personally. So Mr. Bosley was basically one of my mentors. And I had just gotten out of hair school. I was pretty much lost because I felt like I wanted to be in the beauty industry, but I knew that there was more to just style and blow dry on the hair, roll a set, and send the clients about their way. So one of my good friends, her husband is a doctor, and they introduced me to him and was like, oh, come by the job. You have to see something that, as a hairstylist you can do. So upon me, going to the facility in Atlanta, I'm like, this doesn't really work. I see these commercials all the time. Well, lo and behold, when I went, I was a client. I'll never forget. The client had a hair system on, and he said that he was so depressed that he wouldn't go to the mailbox. He wouldn't even let his wife see him unless he put on his toupee. So when I actually saw the procedure, they had me come back like 6 weeks later, and I actually saw a hair stubble, and I'm like, this really works. I want to know more. So they actually hired me on the spot, and I actually was an independent contractor for several years. And then when I felt confident, Dr. Bosley was like, you need to pretty much focus on helping women of color, fight with their hair. So that's what I decided to do, was take my company and pretty much structured around women of color, because when we lose hair is our crown and glory, and it affects us in every aspect. It affects our business, affects our home, it affects our health and our wellness. So I wanted to be able to figure out how to create solutions and stimulate women, how to let them know that even though that you're going through hair loss, you still can be powerful, you still can be brilliant, and you still can be empowering to your home environment, as well as going out to the real world to say, here I am, I'm going to kick this, this hair loss, and I'm going to rock it, and I'm going to be, I am enough, and whatever my brilliant is.
Right. Oh, I love that. And, what you're saying that is so important about us people of color, we have a problem with talking about our issues, even within our own families. We hide everything. You learn 20 years down the road, well, such and such had this same thing, same issue. It's like, well, why didn't you tell me this before? Because a lot of times, if you know what's going on with the history of your family, you can at least prepare yourself. Instead of reacting. So I think that's very important that, we do learn to communicate better, and it's still something that goes on till this day within our families, that, communication is always the key. That's not, being done enough of today as well. But let me ask you another question. Tell me a little bit more about the program. What is it that you provide in your programs? I guess with the two differences that you have. I know that your constant piece is about stimulating, but what do you actually train or help other women learn as they're going through this process of your program?
So what I do for as a training part, I go into different beauty salons and different segments of the beauty schools or anyone that's in the beauty industry, and I teach them how to create their own hair loss institute. Okay. So with far as someone that's going through hair loss, or someone that has an issue of saying, okay, my hair is turning gray, as I'm getting older, my hair is changing, I sit down and I coach them how to go through what type of foods they should be incorporating, what type of products that they should be using. And if the products are not, working for them, then I teach them how to create their own products to maintain their healthy hair.
Wow. Okay. That is awesome. Well, like I said, yeah, we definitely need to talk more, because this gray thing, I'm not ready for it yet. So I think every woman goes through that process. Like,
everyone, yes.
was like, it's gray hairs, one here or one there I can deal with. But when I start to see a patch, I'm starting to get a little worried now. So
And that is why I wear my hair platinum now, because honestly,
Mm-hmm.
with the traveling and having both of the businesses and home, being a homeschool mom in the process of writing 2 books at one time,
Uh-huh.
I was seeing so many gray hairs and I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm going platinum. So
Yeah.
that's my story why I wear my hair platinum, so I can, camouflage the gray hair.
Yeah,
Because
well, it looks great on you. I love it. I was like,
thank
oh, it looks
you.
so good. I'm into the braids, so I keep my hair braided most of the time because it's very convenient for my lifestyle too. The running a business, working
Hmm.
still full time, and I'm an author as well, and trying to get speaking gigs. So you're constantly on the go, and it's like, okay, I can't do everything, so I have to. That was one thing I had to pull off the plate there. So was to make sure that
Wow.
the hair still looks good, but it has to stay good 24 hours a day.
Hmm.
But okay, the other question. Tell me some of the challenges that you have been facing with this business.
The one biggest challenges was that I was trying to be like everyone else. My
Hmm.
business is pretty much different, where you're actually tapping into an individual, and there's so many different solutions that you can incorporate for an individual. What I found myself was the challenges was being on social media, looking at everyone on the platforms and trying to mimic, and then trying to go about with the hair loss, or whether it was hair loss, educating, coaching or stimulating. I was trying to use that same cookie cutter as everyone else, and I thought, trying to be cloned like everyone else.
Right.
So my thing was I had to I had to pull back. I had to do my 3 R's, which I had to reflect. I had to recognize, reflect, and release. I
Hmm.
had to recognize who I was helping, what was the reason why I was helping. And then I had to reflect from it to say, okay, I cannot be like everyone else. This is something that's, whether I'm teaching you, I'm educating you, I'm motivating you. Then I had to release that stigma of trying to be cloned and
Hmm.
stay in my lane. So that's
Hmm.
one was the biggest, challenges that I noticed that I was having.
Yeah, and I think what you said is important because I think that we all have to realize that we are individuals, no matter
Yes.
what. And it's funny because when you see a lot of products on TV and so forth, like you said, you're wondering, does this really work? Are they really truly going to help me? Well, at the end of the day, we don't know because that product was not set for an individual. They're just looking at an overall mass of people that majority of them, yes, it will work for, but at the end of the day, you still have that 10, 15, 20% or whatever that it doesn't work for. So what do you do for them? So I think that's really important that you notice that piece, and so that you could continue to provide something that's valuable to these women on a day-to-day basis. Talk to me a little bit about the stimulator. You have on your webpage, I went back and looked at it because I was so interested about your business and how unique you are. And you talk a lot about branding your image. Talk to me a little bit about what it is that you do to brand your image.
What I do to brand my image is I've learned how to just be me and not, for one, I would not be where I am today without God. So I had to learn how to make him the CEO and not dim that light.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing that I had to learn and brand, and I had to follow my heart. And if something was led into my spirit, I had to learn how to be able to speak upon it and be unapologetic about it.
Right. Amen. I hear that. So tell me about what do you think your greatest success has been with your businesses that you've had?
My greatest success, I want to say, is actually seeing women be able to have multiple avenues that they felt like they could not use. Like, I'll use one of my clients. She had called me a couple of months ago and she wanted to learn how to continue being a hair salon, but she had all this big space and she felt like she wasn't able to have tap into the hair loss industry. She felt that she wasn't able to be able to build the business that she wanted to with the trenches of life, happening. So
Mm-hmm.
within 90 days, we was able to transform her salon, one area into a hair loss section, the other section where she was able to pretty much show herself more on social media and be herself and educate from what she had, and then reach within her community. In less than 90 days, her business has fluctuated phenomenally. So to me, that's one of my biggest excitements, to see the transition in
Mm-hmm.
such short times, and that we as women, once we can achieve so much more when we work together.
Thank you. Exactly. Because that seems to be the number one issue that I hear with every woman that I have interviewed so far, is that women do not know how to work together. And I feel their pain. It's just something that we have not been able to get over that hump sometimes. And so, and that's part of the reason why I have built WSBI, the Women's Small Business Initiative, is because we together have enough resources that there should not be one woman who should fail.
Exactly.
You know, and sharing those resources, teaching each other that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's enough out here for everybody to become successful. And
Yes.
and that is the reason why I've done what I've done with the business, because I am so tired of women not taking the opportunity to teach and help and reach out to each other in a way that's positive. You know,
Absolutely.
you still hear consistently so much about, oh, well, I don't want that person to steal my idea, you know, and she's not going to do this and do that, and oh, I'm not going to share this. Well, it doesn't benefit you to do that. You know, we're still struggling, but at the same time, women are climbing. You know, we're at number one, the top when it comes to having small businesses being built, but we still need to come together more often than not enough and realize that we're stronger together than we are apart.
Absolutely. And that was one thing that I had to realize. It's a journey and it's not the destination of, we get so much caught up in the trenches of like, okay, if I share this idea, what am I going to lose? So what I've learned now is, prior to you paying for a service, I always ask the question, how can I serve you? So I have so many different components. I have beauty, I have business, I have hair loss, real life experiences, homeschooling. And then I ask them, how can I serve you? Where in here these components is that I can be able to give you a strategy, and I want to show you how you can do this with already what you have.
Absolutely.
And then if once you achieve that, then if you feel like I'm someone that you can continue working with, then we move on to a monetary program that we can structure that works best to your budget. So what I found that is where women feel more comfortable, like, okay, because I know as a family having 3 boys and living in multiple places and have to be that jet setter living out of my suitcase, real life happens. You know, you may have, one thing structured, and then you may have to say, okay, well, I have to detour and pay for college or something, or for some books. So I try to make like my business as real life with women and let them know that I'm here to service you. How can I help you? And how can I see you achieve? I win better when I see you're elevating better.
Right, exactly. And at the end of the day, that's why we came into business. You know,
Yes.
Our goal is we're there to help people, period. And,
Yes.
and at the end of the day, we got in business because we think we can do it better than the next person. But at the same token, if you're not helping somebody, you're not going to be successful. That's what
Exactly.
it's about. It's truly it's good customer service all the way around, inside and out. It's not just that one time and I got your money and keep moving, because that seems to be another another issue. So that goes on in the business world that we're in. But I said what you're doing is very powerful, and I applaud you, because I've never heard of any type of business like this before, and that's what really intrigued me to want to talk to you, because it stimulated me enough to say, you know what, I need to talk to this woman, because what she's doing is powerful. And like I said, a lot of times we take for granted that everything seems to be okay with women, but a lot of that's because we don't share our stories. And that's
Exactly.
the whole purpose of my podcast program, is that I want women to share their stories, but also explain what is it about really being in business, and and hearing your story has been really phenomenal tonight. So the other question I would like to ask you is that if there was another woman who wanted to either get into the business that you're into, or something similar, or just wants to get into business, period, what good advice would you give them?
Good advice I would give them is to learn, I would say, connect with other powerful women, such as a group like yours, as well as empowering network. And like, I have a Facebook group that's called Brilliance Beyond Beauty Sisterhood, where we go into the trenches to talk about business, life, and whatever it is that they want to do. Far as, so to say, a woman came to me and said, okay, Latiqua, I want to open up a business and I want to be able to create products. I would tell her to connect with me through the Brilliance Beyond Beauty Sisterhood. I would go through the trenches of showing her, this is your step 1, step 2, step 3, and let her know that in order for her to build, she has to have a community of sisterhood and other entrepreneurs and other motivators that's going to push her to be able to get to that next level.
Absolutely. Yes. It's all about mentoring. And one of the things that I think is important that I offer in my program too, as well, is that you have to have that sometimes business mentoring, business to business, because it helps you understand that, okay, if here you started, now we're going to show you the rest of the pieces that come with it. So,
yes.
That mentorship is very, very important, and it never goes away. And I think a lot of people understand that, you didn't build your business on your own. You build it with the support of the people who surround you every day.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the number one person who surrounds you and gives you what you need and the guidance that you need is God. You know, the love from the Lord that helps us get through this day in and day out, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. That's what keeps us surviving. So, like I said, what you're doing is awesome. So tell me, how can the listeners get a hold of you?
The listeners can get a hold of me by connecting with me through the Facebook group, which is Brilliance Beyond Beauty Sisterhood, or they can connect with me directly at LatiquaWilliams.com and click on the link where it says sign up to connect for the newsletter, or the Instagram, which is the Stimulator, Latiqua Williams, the Stimulator on Instagram.
Okay, great. Excuse me. All right. Well, that is awesome. So if you had any last words, what would that last word be for our guest this evening?
My last word would be, the question isn't who is going to let me. The question is who is going to stop me.
Ooh.
So do not be afraid of what you want to do. Learn how to shift your life and go forward. And don't look to the right, to the left. Stay forward. And what is for you, God has for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And again, like I said, I appreciate you sharing your story with me tonight. For everyone else, I'm here every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also find me at the WSBI website at www.WSBI-LLC. You can also find me on Facebook. We also have a Facebook group page, LinkedIn, and you can also catch me on Instagram. But until then, you all have a good evening. Take care.